Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by Olive Murphy. Good afternoon, Olive.
Hi, Pete. Listen, and thanks a million for the opportunity to be here with you today.
It's been a pleasure, and I know this is going to be a laugh, so I'm looking forward to this one. So it's you do like a good time, Olive, don't you?
I do, yeah. I mean, you have to be positive about things and just to see it from that side as opposed to the negative. So wherever I try, humor is one of those things that certainly can get you through whatever it is that's fired at you. To be fair.
Absolutely. So tell us, who are you? What are you doing? Where are you from?
Name is Olive Murphy. I'm a career performance coach, and basically what I do is I try and help people unlock their belief and potential to have the best careers that they can have, and just to kind of believe in themselves more and come off autopilot and to try things out. I think a lot of careers. So one thing I do is I help people kind of look outside, the parameters that they set for themselves. And especially now, I think, COVID-19 has allowed people to really evaluate what they want out of their lives and to kind of believe that they should go for what it is they really want. So that's basically what I do. It's what I love. I love working with people, and people relate to me too. So it's a good thing, and it's certainly my passion. So it's great.
I was going to say, I mean, COVID has to be bad for business and good for business at the same time, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I was doing before COVID flatlined. I mean, my business flatlined, best month ever in March, and then in April, all projects got, pushed forward, and they still are being pushed forward. So, but then on the negative side, what you have is a lot of people have made redundant and furloughed. So, it's working with people there. I set up a kind of free career clinic on a Friday just to do my bit for everybody, and that's been hugely successful. And on the positive side is the success stories coming out of that. How many people are getting jobs and people are realizing it's not as bad. And I don't think we've even hit the worst of it yet. I think there's a lot of grants and support happening, and when that starts diminishing, then companies are going to start really letting people go.
Mm.
The sense, if you look at down here, there's still 3 million that have been unaffected. So there's still movement within certain sectors. And there's still people getting jobs. So, it's not that it's a whole negative, but on the redundancy piece, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people's identity and sense of security, and and that's all been whittled away, and it's just people having to deal with that. I mean, a lot of people have their packages, so there is that financial support while they try and see what they can do. But Pete, it's also a good time for them to look at maybe going out and do consultancy and set up a business. And I always come at it on the positive side, that it does bring opportunity, and redundancy sometimes kind of makes people, if I'm being honest, it makes people really evaluate what they want, and they've fallen into a safe job. They've been an autopilot for years, so now it's a chance of maybe springboarding and doing something completely different. So I don't see it, and I know I'm kind of different in that I always find the positive in everything. And I know sometimes I can kind of wind people up because I let them be negative, but then it's like flip the narrative. Always flip it. There's always good. There's always something positive there to be had. So for me, it's an opportunity to let people see as well that there are alternatives. And for every down, there's an up, and that, maybe not straight away, but certainly get yourself match fit to be able to, when we come out of this, that you're ready to go and take, advantage of what's going to happen, and that's the way to look at it, really,
I love that. I mean, what sort of causes you to always look, flip it to the positive, or always look for the the positive things? Is that just been in you, or where does it come from?
Yeah, it always is. I mean, I've always ran away. Nobody's ever been able to box me. My whole life has been, I've never kind of done what people expected, or I always was looking for, maybe I got bored, every like 5 or 6 years, I'd be looking for the next thing. And I suppose positivity really came to the fore with me was kind of 13 years ago. I woke up one day and I couldn't move, and my lower disc had come out and damaged my my nerve bed. So I lost the whole bottom half functionality, bladder, legs, the whole lot, and I had to be rushed to Beaumont Hospital. And Chris Pigeon, who was the professor of neuroscience there, was taken up on the Saturday from his golf to to try and perform, a serious operation on me. And you're either going to be in a wheelchair all over, you're going to be a caliper in a bag, but whatever happens, you've lost your bladder and you're going to be seriously disadvantaged. And I just kind of sat there and thought, this ain't going to happen. I'm not just going to accept this. And I really did. It kind of, for me, also brought the whole subconscious in play. I just didn't listen. I'm not going to be disabled. I had friends give me, like disabled stickers to put on the car. So, I could get near near the front end of Tesco's when I was doing shopping, and I was kind of looking and going, who's disabled? Like, I just wouldn't look at it at all. And it was like, if I don't maintain positivity here, I'm going to sink in and actually be what they say I'm going to be. So I took a whole year out with physio and Pilates and, and all of that, and just sheer belief that it wasn't going to happen. And I got myself out of it. And the lovely thing is, if you see my Facebook page, Pete, I'm sitting on top of a heliport in the Italian Alps. I'm 5,000 feet up, and I got myself there a year after the operation. And I sent the picture to Chris Pigeon and I said, look, miracles do happen, or your subconscious strength does happen, whichever way you look at it. But it made me see that, when you are at your worst or when things happen, I mean, other people have loads of other things that have happened to them, but you can either go down two roads. You can either, get negative about it and just accept it, or you can just, get positive about it and say, okay, I'm going to try and, I suppose, think positively in relation to it, but also it's to have belief that, you can get through whatever is fired at you. And I was one of the lucky ones. My attitude and what I did got me out the right end. And, I do have a slight disadvantage sometimes with the leg or whatever, but, I'm nowhere where they thought I was going to be. And that has been fantastic. And that for me has shown me that when you really dig deep, and keep a positive attitude, that you can sometimes achieve what other people would have thought that you could achieve, And I defied medicine there, which was great. So it just shows, it happens to loads of people, mind over matter, and I never had experienced that before. And it certainly made me realize that, God, I have a strength that I didn't realize, and a positive strength. And, it's something that I always fall back on, if I'm being honest. I never allow myself to get into the negative, never. And, I've, for whatever reasons, it's got me into trouble too, because people sometimes don't see the positive, sure they don't. And it can kind of, annoy some conversation that you can have, but they see that I'm coming at it in the right way. It's by having that positivity that you can actually face adversity, really, whatever that is, at the end of the day.
It is always, yeah. I mean, mindset's massive. I mean, and it's amazing you do. Interesting, you used the word at the start there. You talked about luck. What's your perception on luck?
Like, I suppose years ago I would have thought people were lucky. Whether it's where they've come from, where they've been, what they've been born into, the colleges that they've gone to, all of that. And I think I would have fallen into that big time. And then as you get worldly wise, you realize that you make your own. And I do really believe in that too. There is a certain element of it, of course there is, but and certainly people can be set up in a lucky arena. But I mean, again, there are people who have been given a lot of positive and have started out life and been given the best chances and have done nothing with it. So, that's where they're lucky in that they have been given the opportunities, but then they're unlucky in that they've done nothing with them. And then there's most of us that haven't been lucky and been given the opportunities and have made what we've got from where we've come from. So look, I think it's not a word I really would use, because to me it's your own responsibility to kind of make your own. And things can fall. I mean, what can happen is you can put yourself into vibrations or into energies or optimistic worlds that you meet people that you wouldn't have met people if you were negatively. swayed, and those people can point you in directions, or you can have collaborations that can be more than you thought, or they'd open doors for you. But that's just more, you know, your vibrational energy and connecting in and just moving forward and being positive, and rather than luck from where I sit. I think, yeah, it can be used as an excuse too, you know,
Sure.
as well. And I don't necessarily think you're responsible for yourself, and it's up to you to generate and make your own luck.
Makes
Absolutely.
sense. So take us. I mean, what is it that you think fire in the belly? What is it, and what does it mean?
My passion is really, I mean, at the moment, it really is working with people and letting people see in negativity that there is a positive, and that there is more than where they are or what they have if they're not necessarily being fulfilled in what they're doing. So, and I also love when I run the clinic on a Friday, you know, there's people coming in all doom and gloom and they've been made redundant. And then a couple of weeks later, they're ringing you all excited and celebrating that they've got a job. So the fact that you can make a difference, I think is, and it's not saying it in a corny way, you really do. Because financially it can help people as well. And even as a family, and even as just themselves, and just a sense of, you know, absolute belief in them that they can do and more. And I think it's lovely when people come back to me. I was doing recruitment for years and came back, and I was going back into it again. When people were ringing me up and telling me how far they'd gone in their careers, and they started out at junior levels and now they were running their own companies, or that for me is huge. It's lovely that I can make a difference, which is great, and that's massive for me. And that's really, you know, why I went out my own last year, to do it my way and to really work with people. And you know, it's the best thing I've ever done, to be honest.
And so take us right back to where you're from originally, and talk to us about your upbringing.
Born in London. My parents went over they met in London in the 60s, and myself and my brother were born there. So it was North London. And they took us back early 70s to a place called Lucan, which is in West Dublin, small little village it was then. Now it's one of the new towns. But Lucan was a lovely place to grow up, to be fair. It was small, and, you know, everybody knew each other. And, you know, we had a local cinema and we had a local youth club. And it was, you know, we were only on a half an hour bus ride from Dublin City. So, you know, it was a really good place to grow up. Ended up in it was kind of the De La Salle brothers, or Christian brothers, on one side, and the Presentation Convent on the other. So it was your classic, you know, the boys all went to the Christian brothers and the girls went to the Joe's College. So it was a very simple life, Pete. It really was. It was in the, you know, 70s and 80s. So, you know, again, a tough time down here because most of us were educated to emigrate. So one thing I always wanted to do was be a scientist. That was my love and passion when I was in school. I wanted to be a forensic scientist before it all became, you know, we had all the different interests in it now. But yeah, I went and did science in Kevin Street in Dublin, and I got my diploma there. But I wanted more. I wanted the degree. Obviously, with my family background, we couldn't afford to put me through college, so I had to do it part time. So I went to England, and I got working for GlaxoSmithKline, as it is now, and I was a research scientist with them for years, and loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. I lived in North London, was gas. I actually ended up back 2 streets away from where my parents were living. So when my mum and dad came over, it was just amazing. You know, going back to the church, they got married, and where they managed pubs in Dublin or in London. So yeah, I mean, I spent 12 years in England, loved it, absolutely loved it. And, you know, we ended up in the 90s then doing the biotech startups. A few of us went out on our own. We did a biotech startup, which was really good and did very well. We floated on the stock exchange in 2000. So the only problem with that is when you're involved in a startup, you're 12-hour day, 7 days a week. So a lot of us got a bit of burnout from that. Took the few bob and came back home. And I set up a coffee shop. Like I've had many a career change myself, but I set up a coffee shop in Blackrock with a very good friend of mine, and we did that for a while. And just with the euro changeover, a lot of things happened business wise. The rent doubled, prices went up, so our profitability was diminishing. So we decided to disband that. And finally, I was registered with an agency, and they asked me, because of the science background, would I recruit for the pharmaceutical sector. So that's how I got into recruitment in 2003, and I've been in that kind of zone for years. Did very well out of it. Then I fell ill, obviously, with my back, and one of the loves of my lives is Italy, and my oldest school friend lives there. So I decided to pack up everything, sell the house, and go to Italy and set up a business there, which I did, and I did that for 6 years. But without going into the depths of running a business in Italy, it's one of the hardest places. It's a tough place with regards to people paying their bills and taxation. It's quite a corrupt system. So I left it in 2015 with a view to come back, re-establish myself, make some money, and kind of have myself based 50% in Italy and 50% here, and that's what we're doing at the moment. So, so that's where I am now. So I went back into recruitment in 2015 when I came back, and decided last year to go on my own, because I did a executive coaching course and I loved it, and it really showed me a different side of working with people. Recruitment is quite a cutthroat industry, without saying too much about it. There's good and bad in that sector, but people tend to come with a price on their head, because agencies get paid for placing individuals in jobs, and that was a side of the sector I didn't like at all. And I just felt that where people really getting a true service, because it was about more so the placement made by the agency rather than the actual job for the candidate. So I decided to put the candidate centric to everything, and to work with them for them to get the best job that they can, and not be assigned to an agency or assigned to a particular company, but to kind of look at it from a 360 point of view rather than quite a linear viewpoint, which is what stilled me to go in to set up the business last year. And yeah, it's been successful so far. So we're 12 months, 14 months in. So see where we go with that. There's loads of plans, but that's kind of my history in a nutshell. So quite a varied background, but really interesting and full of successes, and also a couple of non-successful events. But it's all part and parcel of it. It's what makes you as an individual too.
Absolutely. What successes stand out for you then? I mean, what's your sort of highlights there?
That I found what I really want to do, and it is working with people. As much as I love the science side of it, I think that was just something that I was interested in as an area, and still am. But with regards to me, I found what I think I'm very good at, and I'm very good with people. I see that people really relate to me, and I get a lot of respect from people with regards to what I'm trying to get them to see and to do, in the best sense. I think me as well. I think you go through various forms in life. I've had some sadness myself because I haven't been able to have kids, so that's been something that I've had to deal with. And I suppose I've always been chasing different things. So I went to Italy as well. But you end up becoming the best auntie and the best godmother, and love that as well. And that's something where I had to come through that and find me and what was important for me. And I think for me it's just being happy, being me. I think I was chasing various things, wanting various things, and certain things didn't happen, so that brings its own sadness. But now it's kind of, these things happen in your life, and it's how you deal with them and what you do with them. And I've got a lovely partner, and we're planning on lovely things with Italy and Ireland, and what we're going to do, and the family's experiencing that with us as well, which is great. And I think I used to have loads of ideas as to what I wanted. I had lists, and now I don't have many lists, because it's about you being happy in your day and the connections that you have with your family, and being successful in your own way with your business, and being able to switch off and have that balance. I think for me, the most successful thing for me at the moment is that, I know what really is valuable to me. And I think COVID-19 has reaffirmed that it is connections back with family and friends. And it's, are you doing what you really want to do? And, part of COVID-19 is I was also having to go back and look after my mum. and my other half did the same with his mum. So for us, it's that separation piece was hard, but also what it allowed us to do was connect in with, with the mums, which was great. It can be difficult at times seeing the world through the eyes of a 75-year-old, but still, because they can be quite negative. But on the other side, it's lovely to be able to go back and look after someone who's looked after you. It's that whole value piece, I think, that COVID has really, hit all of us with. And I'd say now it's probably the happiest I've ever been, because I actually like me. I'm doing what I like. I have a sense of what it's all about. And whereas before it was all about money and making money and chasing the money. And don't get me wrong, that's important. And I want my business to be successful. And we do want to have, nice houses in both countries and all of that sort of thing. But I think the most important thing is that, what you're doing is actually fulfilling you, and you're enjoying what you're doing. And that you then have the time then to enjoy the downtime and to have the downtime.
It is, like you say, looking after your mother and parents and stuff like that, and having that opportunity, it does tend to do stuff to your values, right?
Absolutely. It's like before, you kind of fitted her in, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Just kind of there was the weekly visit, there was the couple of phone calls a week, but you weren't necessarily sitting down and talking. And and now it's like, we go for a walk every day by the river. I'm down with her in Loughlin Bridge in Carlow, which is a beautiful part of the world. I never really knew how fabulous it is down here. So it's just getting back to talk, just to really, really talk, and even just reminiscing and just her plans for what she wants to do, and not kind of assuming that because they are your parents and grandparents that their life is finished and that they're just going from one visit or one phone call or one day to the next. And for me, that has been hugely important, that we have reconnected. We've always had a very good relationship, but I think it's got a lot deeper because we're talking and listening, which is great. It really is.
It is. I mean, talking and listening being the powerful thing is. And I said at the very start here, when before we came on, is it's giving people that opportunity to actually talk and to be listened to. It's almost like a rare thing now, which is kind of amazing in this world of communication and stuff, that actually people are going, I haven't talked and I haven't been heard.
Yeah, and when I did the coaching in the IMI, one of the books that they recommended was Time to Think by Nancy Klein. And, it's I've never heard of it, never known of her, and it is all about getting comfortable with the empty spaces and just letting people just truly listen. I mean, her method is quite strange in that she doesn't talk at all. It's all about the person has the answer and don't insult them by finishing their sentences or butting in or whatever. But I just love the concept of sitting back and listening to understand as opposed to listening to reply. And I know that's bandied about, but I think more and more when I'm doing the coaching, in the very beginning, you are looking to give them an answer or give them, a solution, and that's not really what a lot of people want either. I mean, yes, there's advice and all that, especially from a career point of view. I sit between mentoring and coaching, but a lot of our sessions I have with people is just to give them the time to just speak. And a lot of people haven't done it and, don't have the time, or, to me, it's a really, really powerful situation to be with people, is just to sit back and give them the space just to hear themselves say things. And like what you're doing, Pete, you're watching what they're saying and going back to things and giving them that kind of environment and a safe environment just to talk. And it is very powerful because, I mean, all of us are caught up in social media and our phones, and, the distractions are just crazy. We're just going from one situation to the next. But it's to take that time out is really important.
Absolutely. I think it is so important. I'm going to, interesting, and especially having done the coaching side, Can you give us your definition of the difference between a coach and a mentor?
For me, the mentoring side is really advising.
Okay.
That's where I see the mentoring side. So it really is, you know, whether for me, say for example, people come to me for career advice. So
Okay.
that's the mentoring side. The coaching side is when they don't quite know what they want to do, and you can't give them that answer because they have to find it for themselves. So the
Sure.
coaching piece is that you allow them, by the questioning that you do, that they find the answers within themselves, and that you give them questions to let them think and reflect and kind of go within. I think, you know, we never go within deep enough. We have those superficial answers to questions. It's just what we do. We have, you know, absolute, you know, defaults, whatever situation we're in. But have we gone below the layers and have we gone deeper into it? And for me, that's what coaching is about, is to, you know, peel back the layers in the best way that you can. And if they want to as well. But I often find too that people come to me and they want a job, but it's not about a job. It's lack of confidence. It's limiting beliefs. There's a whole array of stuff going on. So the coaching is kind of honing in on that getting a job is the result, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done before they do that. So that's where, to me, the separation is the advice piece and the, well, this is what you do, and putting the plan in play and advising them what to do with that and how to approach companies. And, you know, that accountable action plan is the mentoring side, but the coaching side is very much the person side, if that makes sense. And just saying that is right before they then jump into what it is that they want to do.
It is interesting because you alluded to at the start that actually the reward system, unfortunately, doesn't always, sort of let that happen naturally. It's kind of going, you're rewarded for appointing as opposed to, you know, rewarded for the right person in the right job that suits them, suits the company, and you know, it's the right thing to do, as
Yeah.
opposed to, you know. So it's interesting that you've actually decided to put on both hats. It's great. I commend you for it.
Yeah, it is. And I think stepping away from being associated with any one, you can do that. And I think I found when I worked, you know, with an agency, obviously you've been paid by that agency. So, and even when you're dealing with a candidate, they may have other opportunities with other agencies or other companies. And I used to sit there and go, well, actually pick the best one for you. And I would kind of sit and talk it through with them. And I'd go back to who was actually paying my bills and go, what? You know, that's not the way that it's done. But that's where I used to get myself into trouble, because for me, it is about the person and what's best for them.
Sure.
And the same with the company as well. It shouldn't be down to, you know, financials, or it shouldn't be down to, you know, any of that. It should be down to, it's the best role for the individual and it's the best person for the company. But I think the whole sector is changing in that way, because it is all about, you know, everybody has a technical ability, you know, and you can teach somebody a skill, but you can't teach a person a personality, you know. And same with a company is a culture. So you have to really dig deep that fit is more important. And it's all about, and I suppose COVID-19 has brought us to the fore, it's all about values. It really is all about values, and that matches. Because if the environment is right for both, well, then it's a win-win. But if you have a wrong fit from a value perspective and from a culture perspective, no one's going anywhere. You know, that's going to be something that's going to be very short-lived. And that's where frustration and, you know, kicks in. But for me, a lot of people, I'm surprised people, they come to me, they don't necessarily go down that route first. It's just the job and the money. And then I'm sitting there going, peel it back. What's your non-negotiables? You know, what is it that you really want from the job? And why are you going for an interview? Because it's not actually giving you your non-negotiables. You know the way, so I come at it kind of back end, and it's amazing because people haven't. They just, a lot of their careers, they've fallen into autopilot, and they're just going to the next step and the next step and the next step. And then they get to their 40s and then it's a whole life review. And it's like, how did I get here? And do I want to stay here? And where do I want to go? So it is amazing to see just people's psyche. Like, your job and your career is a huge part of your life. And a lot of people, like, I think it's 48%, just hate it. That's a
Yes.
huge percentage. And like, you're going in and you're doing a 7-8 hour day every day. It's taking over your headspace of a weekend if you're not enjoying it. Like, it's massive. It's absolutely massive. And a lot of it is financial because of obviously family and whatever, and that's understandable. But you can still have it, but it still should fit your value, and it should fit, the culture. And I think that's something that's really, I'm seeing coming out of COVID-19. People are really questioning that they have the right fit.
Is it financial, do you think? I mean, I accept that some would have it, but
Yeah, a lot of it is.
Okay.
Especially if you're the sole breadwinner. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, with regards to mortgages, and kind of the financial pressures on people. Not saying it should be, but I think a lot of it is like when you come down to your definers, you're choosing one job over another, and a lot of people have come to me and, it's like, oh, I picked it because I got 20K more than where I was, or, and that blinds them to, well, if it is 20K more, make sure, okay, that's great, but it should not be the only definer. So I think working with me, it's one of many things I get people to look at. And, just to see that even at that level, is it still what you want? Because you still have to go into a certain environment and culture. So, but I do think it is very important for a lot of people. Because if that's their only income, and that's the thing, a lot of people are on a single income. They don't have multiple streams, or, and that's what I'm seeing. Even COVID-19, people are doing side hustles. They're looking at alternatives, which is great. And I think that dependency on a single income, unfortunately, is a massive disadvantage. Because that's the one thing that maybe defines whether it's a plus or a negative, going forward.
What do you find are powerful questions to help you, with all your experience that you're able to ask? I mean, I like that, what's your non-negotiables? That's a
That's
great.
huge. That is huge. And that's something that a lot of people don't define, because they go into, a process, or, they look at jobs, think, oh, it looks good, and they're halfway through and they haven't asked the questions. And they're at probably second interview and been offered the job, and they haven't really evaluated it. And suddenly they're in the situation where, oh my God, I've got, and I'm saying to people, come at it the other way, define what you want and what you're not going to move on. And if the job doesn't fit that, well, then don't get yourself in a situation where you've been offered something you don't want and you're accepting it because the salary is higher than it should be. To me, the non-negotiables is a huge one. It certainly is. Also, real reasons for why people are leaving, and when you look at their career to date, to kind of really be honest about why they chose the choices that they did. Why did they choose it, and why are they leaving? And, because a lot of people don't want to probably admit that it's all about money. But if that is a major driver for them, well, then that's fine. But there has to be more than that, as well. So it's kind of digging deep as to the reasonings behind their choices. But also is, for me, it's looking at alternatives. So when they come to me with what they think they want, it's to really sit and research what else is out there. Because a lot of people just go with the first thing that comes to mind. So that's where the coaching comes in. You challenge, and get them to look at it from different viewpoints, and get them to see if there is an alternative, and don't just accept the first thing that comes along. So I think for me, it's going deeper and deeper and deeper. And it may be just simple questions in relation to their choices, or what it is they're looking to do, or more importantly, why they're not going for other things, because there's this self-limiting belief or whatever. But it's to do a lot of investigation initially, before they decide what it is they want to do or go for. And that certainly helps them, and that's certainly why a lot of people like working with me, because there's a lot of self-evaluation and research and review and reflection, and to try and find the best for them, but then also coming to me as to why they've chosen it. So there's kind of, and it's not necessarily a justification, but it's for them to even say, is it really right for me? That way, is it what I want to do, and why? And it's to have the belief to think even bigger, because I kind of get them to go to the next level. So where's this going to take you? And just to kind of look a little bit further than where they're going to, and that has also helped people to kind of go, well, do you know what, I'm not actually thinking bigger. I need to go a step further up with it. So that's the sort of questioning around what way I work and run sessions with people.
What are you finding is the sort of the biggest value that they're after? Is it the financial, is it security, or is it recognition, or what do you find?
There's a couple of things. Security is one thing. Because I do an awful lot with the public sector. And a lot of people are coming to me to help them get into it because they want the security. And again, it's where people are in their lives too. So there is that side of it. But then, as I say to them, nothing's secure. At the end of the day, you build your own security. It's not to say just you're in the public sector that it's going to work out, because it's a very different environment to private. So, I sit with people and go, do you realize that, things take a lot of time to get done? There's a lot of bureaucracy. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's quite a difficult environment to succeed and grow in. I mean, it's a great world, don't get me wrong, but it's a certain type of person that will survive in that. And it's not just picking it because it has security. And the other thing is the work-life balance. I think people are just not going to be doing the 12-hour days. They're not going to be doing the long commutes. I'm seeing some companies really embracing the flexibility in the working from home, and there are other companies that are trying to go back to the old way, which is just crazy. And I think, everybody's got to learn the lesson that, we can't go back. We can only go forward. And what worked before is not going to work now. And I think a lot of people are surprised how effective and efficient they've been working from home, which is brilliant. So that's great. I think what you're finding, Pete, is the balance with childcare, where they're going to work, so it's the whole preparing the house. Maybe they've an office outside, or that when daddy goes there, mommy goes there, you do not go near them. They're actually gone to work, even though it is, close at hand. But it's that stuff. I think personally people are trying to, but I think they've all loved working from home, what it has given them. And I think even if they go into work, 1 day a week or something, just to keep that contact with work colleagues, it's that flexibility to be able to have the work-life balance and not to be spending, 2-3 hours a day, on the M50. That's what people don't want anymore. But then I think people are also conscious of the environment. I certainly have been. It's something that's made me, more connected than I've ever been. And people say that, if they can do a little bit in their way, and the commute is one of those things, absolutely, that's huge for people too. And it's trying to get that balance and to work with their current employer to try and find a way that best fits both. And I think what you're having is companies are still trying to define what the new working world is going to be. And individuals are too. But I think when you see that the effectiveness and efficiencies of people haven't really gone down, they've actually been better, that I think a lot of people are very much, that's what they want to do, because they want to be around for the kids and family and spend that extra time, where it needs to be, and to keep the walking or the running or the cycling or whatever it is that they've incorporated into their day for self-care. I mean, self-care has been huge. And it's something that I've worked a lot with people as well, especially in this time when they're not getting interviews or it's been negative news. Your self-care is absolutely massive for all of that and keeping yourself motivated. But people have incorporated self-care plans into their days and weeks, and I think they want to maintain that as well going forward. So, to hold on to if they can. And I think what I'm finding too is people are fighting for it. I think in the past they just accepted their working contract and off they went, whereas now they're actually doing the non-negotiables and saying, we'd like this, 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 and this, which is great. And they're creating the environment in the world that they want to work in, which is brilliant, and if companies are open to that, well, it is a great scenario for both sides.
It is. It's great. It's great to see people doing that, and the balance. And I suppose even, someone said before, mental health is great unless you have to talk to your employer, as in, you know, anyone that's self-employed or whatever, they can speak openly, but yet in you know, where we are all the, you know, these days, you know, mental health is, it's never been so prevalent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, it's there's so much there, but still it's hard to talk to some employers about it as well, you know. So it's, as you say, it's the balance, it's life, it's kids, it's keeping your own space and keeping on top of everything at the same time.
But I think it's also an element of humanity has kicked in to the workplace. I think prior to all of this, what people's outside life, you know, you just don't bring it indoors. You know, it just isn't something that you talked about. And like you said, whether it's mental health or work-life balance or whatever, whereas now those conversations are being had. Mental health probably not as much as we would like, Pete, to be honest. But I think people can probably fight for a bit more work-life balance to help them. You know, the whole self-care piece is something that they're incorporating in. So that is now something that everybody's talking about. So, you know, that's the great thing, that those conversations can be had, and it is part of your day, you know, which is great. But I find in, like, even in teams, you know, working with teams, coaching with teams, you know, when the leaders or the management are seeing where people are coming from, whether it's the childcare, it's giving them then the option to sort that out and then come back then with how they can work and when they can work. Like, those are conversations that were never had 12 months ago. It's like, this is the setup. You're working from this time to this time, and it's nothing to do with us where the childcare issues are, but they've had to. So I think that emotional intelligence and really good leadership and the humanity piece and knowing your staff and kind of the human side of the individual is actually been entertained more now than it ever was. Better working relationships, even with, you know, management, company, individuals. I think, you know, people are seeing that that is something that has to be dealt with and has to be addressed, and has to be worked on together. You know?
It's an amazing time. It really, and probably, well, hopefully we'll never see as big a shift in our lifetimes, you know, because, you know, the internet happened over 10, 15 years. It slowly came in. You know, the recession was more, again, even it was a bit more prolonged, but the immediacy of the pandemic has been phenomenal. And I think it's, again, it's probably the biggest impact we will ever see in our lifetimes, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, as we know, we probably will have shift the technological point of view. You know, it does have its disadvantages too, because, you know, Irish people love hugging and connecting and talking, and I think the biggest thing we've all missed is that, you know, closeness. And, you know, but you can still, you know, thanks to Zoom and all the various platforms that are there, you know, there is that element and there's the social side through it as well. But I think our biggest thing is that side of it. It's that human contact, even though, you know, people can work from home. On the positive side, and there is that flexibility and there is a better work-life balance. I think on the other side, it's how we keep that social connection too, because, you know, we're very good at it. We love it, you know, and it's what makes us, you know, it's that banter and fun and whenever, even in a workplace. And it's how we're going to bring that back in now without being scared about, you know, meetups and whatever else. So that's another big challenge. But I think we will find a way. You know, and that's one that is I find, where as much as it's great that there's the work-life balance, I think there are people that don't like working from home. It hasn't necessarily helped them. And I think you've got that introvert extrovert thing, you know, going on, where, you know, they've really found it difficult. But again, you know, 5-6 months on, I think it's easier. I think in the beginning it was quite alien. So it's just an adjustment, really, isn't it? And for us to work together, I think that's the key thing. Nobody is on their own, even if they are working from home. And connectedness, together, really. But yeah, no, there's some lovely things happening. You can see it. You know, it's great. But, you know, we're resilient as individuals too, so we're all going to try and find a way out of it, and to keep the connect, you know, keep us connected as best as we can, you know, in the circumstances.
It is interesting, you know, a word you've used there a couple of times is autopilot, and how we do, you know, as you say, you find something that, it matches your values or answers some of your values, and it's good enough. It's not bad enough to leave and not good enough to always want to stay, but you just get into autopilot of, collect your salary, pay the rent, do this, do this, do this. And
yeah, and then you come to your 40s and you go, and I think that's the big thing. I think we all hit our 40s and it's like, is this what we want? Where do we want to
is
go?
that a thing? Because I know for me it is, but I'm just saying, from a recruitment point of view, you got a beautiful view of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's a huge thing in 40s, men and women, kind of, is this where they want to be? Is this and especially when they don't like what they're doing. But as you said, coming back to the financial piece, the money's good, the package is good, why rock the boat?
Mm.
Isn't it a great job? And I've had people come to me guilty, that they're kind of going, yeah, it's great because look at what I can do for my family. But on the other side, it's not, it's not my passion. And I think we do, even in the jobs that we do, we can be very good at things that we don't like doing. And there's that side of it too. Like there is that skill set that's natural to us, but it doesn't give us the fire, doesn't give us the passion. But yet we can earn money out of it and have a career in it. And I think people just end up sliding into those. Yeah. And it's that side of it. So you come to your 40s, and I think, I know myself, I found, like, even me, what I value now, what I value then is very different.
Sure.
You grow up, you realize what is important. And as much as your job is, you kind of sit there and go, well, I'm spending so much time doing it. I want to end up doing something that I actually like. You've got a bit of financial security behind you. So you can start, looking and thinking. Your world is a little bit more calmer because, when you have kids and you're not getting any sleep and it's about 10 years of mayhem, you just want to get up and function and go and do the job. And that, you don't necessarily question it because it's delivering its piece. But I think when you start going into your 40s, you kind of go, okay, the kids are getting bigger, they're going to school, going to college. You ended up back with each other. You kind of go, well, now we can kind of look at ourselves and be a bit more selfish. And I think that's a universal thing for everybody. But I do laugh because there is a certain age bracket. I try not to be biased about it, and I just kind of go, oh, so this is, a work-life evaluation here, is this where we are, and we're looking at what we want to do. But yeah, and I think that's where the coaching piece comes in beautifully, because people can sit and just talk, and they've probably never talked about it for 20 odd years, and it's like, okay, I'm going to actually see what I'm going to do, and then I put an accountable plan for them to come back and check in and see where they're going with it. And I'd say, 30% of them don't move at all, but a huge percentage do. And it's at that time, whether it's a new business, consultancy, go into a different sector or whatever, but huge change. And again, there's this, do it before you're 45, because over 45, you see that it's a lot harder. But that again is down to perception and bias and certain companies. Of course, it's there, but my argument is, like, there's still another 20 years plus there. Like, don't sell yourself, and that's where my positivity comes in. I just don't accept that. If companies are like that, why would you want to work for them anyway? There is huge power in multi-generational teams. There really is. And I think people kind of feel that when they get to that stage, they should just accept where they are. But there is life after 45, career-wise, absolutely, if you have the right attitude, definitely.
It is, and I find it fascinating, as you say, that people get to a tipping point in their life where they've made a bit of financial headway. They've taken the biggest sting out of the mortgage. The kids are able to feed themselves, and they're maybe not left yet, but there's enough of a breathing space, and then for people to go, okay, the past is the past. I am my own person. What do I really love?
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose, mom and dad have been behind the team, making sure the team is okay, getting them sorted, looking after them financially, and, unselfishly, they haven't even thought about it, because that's kind of been taken care of itself. Oh, absolutely. And then once the kids are in college, it's like, well, okay, we can actually sit and think about ourselves and what we want, and kind of have your second stab at it, which is great. You know, just because you fell into something, and I say that to people, just because you fell into something doesn't mean you have to stay doing it. You know, and what are the reasons why you want to stay at it? And are they the same reasons why you started in the first place? And you can see that there's a massive shift in 20 years. Like you can see with me, I mean, my career's gone through 4 or 5 different, you know, different phases. I loved every one of them. But, you know, at the end of the day, we all have different things that as you get older, it's great that you can still dream, still chase, still have ideas. And I think it's sad when you see people that don't feel that they can. You know, I even have friends that, you know, once you get to 45, 50, that's it. You kind of go, nah. I still have many chapters in my book. You know, that way it's weird, but some people do get themselves into that, Pete, don't they? There is that, you know, comfort in the comfortable, you know, in the routine, in the knowing, you know, and no, it's too difficult to change this or to try it. But yeah,
probably
and then
21, 40 seems old at 21 or 18. You know, when you get to 40, you're like going, 40's not old.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like 60's old. You get to 60 and go, no, 60's not old. You know, it's like
No.
80's old, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a case of, you know, as they say, you know, old head and young shoulders. You'd love to have the head that you've now when you were 21, but that's all part of it. To my 40s, it's like, oh, I've only now kind of got the book. I know now what's, you know, what I want, where I am. Now it's a case of what am I going to do, you know? So certainly for me, it's at 21, you're just kind of reacting really, you know, because you don't have that huge wealth of experience and understanding and knowing even yourself. There is that, you know, ego and attitude and self-belief, which is fantastic. And I think we lose that as we get older. But, you know, for me, I love to kind of instill a little bit of that back into people when they come to me. It's like, you know, you're 21 again, what would you do? You know, but now you've got all these life experiences and understanding and, you know what your real loves are or what you'd love to do or your passion is. So, you know, kind of look at it from that viewpoint and off you go. You've nothing to lose. You know, you're actually in a better position, I think, in your 40s than you were at 21. But at 21, you had no cares. You know, you had no real responsibility. So it never really shut you down. You just jumped. And wherever you landed, off you went, you know.
What would you do if you were 21 again?
I don't think I'd change anything. Like, you know, I really don't, because I think if I was to give myself a little bit of advice, I probably would have saved more or been a little bit more sensible with money. But then again, that's all part and parcel of it too. It's there to be spent and have fun. But yeah, I think, you know, sometimes you can be a little bit too flippity gibbet when it comes to financials when you're that age. You just don't think about it at all. And I think at this stage, sometimes you kind of go, I wish I put a little bit more aside or would have given me more opportunities. But that's the only thing really, Pete. I think, you know, I've loved the life I've had. You know, it's had its ups, it's had its downs, but it's made me who I am. And we've often had that conversation. I say to people, I wouldn't actually really change. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think, you know, you do become what you've gone through. And I suppose I like what I've become. I think if I didn't like what I've become, I might have given you a different answer. But yeah, no, I'm quite comfortable in my own skin. And, you know, thanks to the life I've had, you know, I'm, you know, making the most of it now.
How do you, or how have you managed your sort of your ups and downs, those peaks and troughs? Do you go through a process or?
No, just don't get too down. You know, like you know, health wise, yes, financially, lost a business. You know, it's been loads of different bits and pieces. Things that you wanted in life didn't happen. Yeah, you allow yourself to go into that for a while because you have to acknowledge it. Definitely. I wouldn't say I've ignored it. I think you ignore it at your peril because it does come back to you if you don't deal with it at the time. I think give it its time, give it its space, but don't give it too much. And don't allow it then to dictate. You know, I tend to kind of leave it for a while and go back to it. I've got, you know, I suppose for me, I've got friends and family, like not even such family, but I have friends from when I was very small. So, you know, I'm very young. So it's lovely to have those people in your life that can give you a different perspective as well. and to kind of talk things through. I'm a talker as well, as you can see. So it's not to hold it in, either. It's to talk it out. But realistically for me, it's not to get too caught up in it. When I notice that I'm in it for too long, it's to shift wherever it is that I am. And like that, I've moved countries, I've changed jobs, I have done whatever needs to be done, in my view. But it's not to get, not to wallow too long in the negative, really.
Sure.
It's to give it its space and to get the lesson. Like, what is it teaching you? What can you learn from it? And I've always tried to get the positive out of it and then use it to springboard then going forward.
One of the things you talked about earlier on was Italy. Why Italy? Why Italy?
Italy, I did Italy on I mean, it's my go-to. I love it. I when I did Interrail, I went to Italy, and I don't know if you've ever been there, Pete, but I love history, and it's one of the things that I'm a straight A student on that. I had to give it up for chemistry, but still, I just have a huge thing about history. And you're in Rome and you're walking along the old forum and you're walking along the steps of where Julius Caesar was, or, it's just fantastic. In other countries, it's locked up behind a glass box, but in Italy, you're walking in history, and for me, it's that. It's also the lifestyle. Even as Italians, you finish your work at 7 o'clock and everybody meets up for an aperitivo and talks about their day. They get up and go to work, and at 12 o'clock, everybody shuts down for 2 hours. What do you mean we've got to work for 10 hours without a break? We need a 2-hour break, whether it's to go and have lunch or sit and have a beer or, go for a sleep. They just have their work-life balance. It's fantastic. They're very similar to us as people. It's all about family. They're very, and they like a good laugh. They do take themselves a bit too seriously, but, they don't have the wit that we slag each other. That's something that doesn't transfer across culturally. But I fell in love with it, and my oldest friend, she's like a sister, she married an Italian, and I used to go over every year. And when I came out of my illness, I just thought, I want to live here. I want to see if I can. So I took the time out then to try and do it. And living there for 6 years, it's just a beautiful place. We've decided that's where we're retiring, where we're going. And then decision was made last year, why wait till we're 65? Why can't we do it now? So that's what we've been doing. So that's why I went and did coaching as well. I was pretty much online anyway prior to COVID-19. So the whole idea was, it doesn't matter where I am. Once you have a good connection, off you go. So that's what we've been aiming to do. And it's just lovely. And yeah, the place we have, we had family over last year and just sharing it with the kids. And it's just a real, environment. And it has the sun, a little bit too hot. 45 last year, it's 40 there at the moment. But it's also a very cheap place, believe it or believe it not. Property is cheap, cost of living is cheap. It's lovely, and like most of the environment is outside, so it's all barbecues, and we have a vegetable patch where we grow all our veg and fruit, and you're getting up in the morning, you're going out, the kids were even picking their lettuce and tomatoes, and the kids were laughing at the size of the grapes that were grown. The way it's just, and for them, even to get them involved in all of that, it's a very easy, chilled life. And I think, living in London, when we had the startup company, I was out in America selling the service. It was this frantic, 12, it was 15-hour days. It was just, and all of that to earn money, which was great. But for me, if that's what success is, forget it. Success for me is, doing as little as I can. But sitting with a glass of wine at the end of the day with the sun on your face, it's lovely. And where we are is on Lake Como. So it's absolutely beautiful. It really is. It's a small little fishing village, so it would have been like Dingle in its day. It's become very popular now with tourists. But, learn the Italian, and we're sitting, and it's just it's a lovely spot. It really is. And I just feel at home. I don't know what it is with Italy. I just have always had a connection with it. And I don't know what it is. It's a place that I've always wanted to go to and travel. And we do a lot of traveling. You know, I love Rome. Rome's one of my favorite cities. And last year we even spent it on the coast. I mean, we didn't know that the beach is an hour away from, not even an hour away from Rome. So we had a coastal city, you know, so it's even just going down south, going to Sicily. I mean, it's just beautiful. Have you been, Pete? Have you experienced it? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, and it's a popular spot for skiing, and yeah, been many times in different places. So it
Yeah.
is. It's a beautiful.
It's
Uh,
fabulous, whether it's the food markets in Bologna, whether you go to Venice for the film festival, whether, you know, there's just so many things. It's just wonderful. And they just have a lovely way of
hmm.
just chilling out too, which is great. It's the lifestyle as well, which is a huge attraction.
Back in school and stuff, what did you want to do when you sort of grew up as such? What was your initial passion?
Science.
It was the science, right?
I used to watch Quincy, and that shows age, and I wanted to be Quincy, so I wanted to work as a pathologist, but realised you had to be a medic and then train again. So it was 14 years, which just we couldn't have afforded as a family, so that wasn't going to happen.
Mm.
So I went and did lab science. So I became an industrial lab scientist, and that's what got me into GSK, and became then a pharmaceutical. It's interesting because it was neuroscience really. It was all 5-HT and serotonin, and here I am doing neuroscience through coaching. So for me, it's a full 360 circle. You know, it really is. Whereas I was working on neurotransmitters back in the 90s, and now I'm actually looking at their impact on behaviour. So it's fascinating to see that. Yeah, I haven't kind of lost that either. I never thought I wouldn't be a scientist. You know, I always thought it was a passion and a dream. Going to school, most people didn't quite know what they wanted, but it certainly was something that I definitely wanted to do. But then, it's one of those, I did it, box ticked, onto the next thing. That's kind of the way I do stuff, and see
Was
what
there
else.
scientists in your family, or your mother, or your father, or anything else? Was there any bias there?
No, 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 none at all. My
Brilliant.
dad's family are all in the police force, and my mum's family are farmers. So, there was nothing. I don't know why. I just and I'm very analytical, and to be honest, I was very good. But I was a very good scientist. I used to present at papers. Like, it was an area that I did very well in. But again, you're caught up in corporate worlds. As lovely as it was as a job, it was a safe job. Some of my friends are still there 20 odd years later. And that's something that for me, no. I just, like, I couldn't be doing the same thing for 20 years. It's just who I am. It's like, I kind of have a boredom factor. I think 7 years is the longest I've stayed in anything. And then it's like, move on, try something different. Or maximize where you are to kind of even expand it into something different. But yeah, no, it was great and I loved it. But it was one of those chapters, and
Mm.
we're on to a new one.
Is that a common thing, the 7 year? Because I've heard
Yeah,
several
it's kind
people
of a
talking about.
7-year itch.
Yeah, because
Some people have it in relationships. I have it in relation to career.
you must see that
But
on CVs coming through. There's patterns there, I'm sure.
yeah. It's kind of 5 to 7 years. I suppose it's down to a certain personality type. There are people that, just that would freak them out. They've gone and done their qualifications, gone into a career, and they just go as the career goes, and they go to the top if that's what they want. And then there's some of us, then there's that boredom, needs to get involved in something else. But yeah, no, I see it a lot. I see it, and so I'm not on my own with that one. It's a common trait, I think, that people look for something different, just to even stretch themselves, grow themselves. There's that kind of boredom factor. It can be a bad thing too, Pete, because it'd be nice just to stay doing the same thing all the time. But I think it
Yeah.
is a growth side of it. I think it's people who, it's not an unhappiness thing. I often thought it's because you're not happy with what you're doing, that you're just constantly looking for something. I used to kind of sit and think it was that, but no, it's just just look to do something different.
Mm.
Try out new skill sets. Just test yourself. Just don't get bored. And I think when you see people that are bored, I kind of look and think, well, I'm glad I'm not like, you know, the end of the
Yeah,
day.
it's finding that halfway place.
Mm.
Favorite coffee?
Oh, espresso. But then if it was to go as a macchiato, actually, would be my big one. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Espresso if you're sitting.
espresso lungo. Yeah.
I love it. It's because I was going to say, having the coffee shop and Italy and everything else, it's all that sort of environment, and
Yeah, it's social, it's people. Like the one thing that is common, I suppose that's one of the reasons as a scientist, the people piece wasn't there. The people piece was there with my teams, and obviously I had my own scientific team. And even with Pharmagene, we set it up, it was just building a company up from scratch. And we became a victim of our own success because, we grew at a huge rate in the first 2 years. But the people piece was missing. Whereas coffee shops is there, Italy it's there, coaching it's there, so I think for me there has to be that element of interaction and people and dealing and working with people, and that's why I suppose this is a world that I think I'm going to stay in. I can't see myself leaving this world at all in the foreseeable future because it's very much about the individuals and the connection with people, very much so.
What are your values and what are your core values?
Without being corny, it's honesty and integrity. And, like where I've been in situations where people haven't been that with me, it is something that I will call out justice and right, where I see situations where people aren't being treated fairly. I would get myself into trouble because I would call it out if the person wasn't able to call it out. And I certainly have had to back down a few times on that one. But for me, it is that fairness, that complete fairness. That side of it is massive. Family is absolutely sacrosanct to everything. I mean, you're nothing without it. I'm lucky of a great partner who family is key for him too, and for us, that's what it's all about, really. Everything that we do is to share it with those we love. So that value piece, is huge. And yeah, I mean, there's a value around, I suppose, if you bring in kind of not necessarily an ego, but it's to be successful as well. For me, it's even within the world that I'm in, it's to be seen as being a leader in the field and to be the best that I can be, as well as helping my clients to be the best that they can be. So, to me, I would value that I would be a master in my craft, and that's a value I think as well, is to try and excel and grow yourself, that you're providing the best service that you can provide. That's a key driver for me at the moment with regards to growth and development. And I think, when you have that, you never stop growing, and it's that side of it as well. It's to not just be about the bottom line, it's to be about what you do and to genuinely, I mean, at the moment it's all about, everybody's talking about service, and the value of service, but do they really, it's like there's certain words that you kind of think, how true is that? It's service at a price, or it's service. And again, we all have to make money in it too, but I think, a value for me is that I am the best that I can be, to not only for my family and my partner, but also for my clients, and that's hugely what drives me too. And that's part of my passion as well, Pete, with regards to that.
Yeah, it is interesting, how you can get your passions and bring all the worlds together. And I find it really intriguing how you've brought the two together. I mean, do you have typical ages of people that you would recruit, or do you have an avatar, or is it more vague than that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to say it's anybody who needs help in that world. But I suppose where I tend to go, and where for myself, even with regards to the value that I provide, is that 40 to 55 age bracket. And that's kind of really, if I was to put an age bracket on it now, it can be 30, 35 that come at me, or people over that. But it's a lot of people who are in transition or career change or life change, or even in the public sector, they've done their 30 years. Where do they go? You know, they went in at 20, they're now 50, and is life, you know, finished for them career wise?
So
So
they've got an itch.
they've got an itch, and they also have money. They don't know what to do. You know, they've also been cocooned. And as I say to people, you know, they've been institutionalized, you know, and that you could look at it that way as well. But how to change that whole view, and to say, well, you're not actually, you know, there are things that you can do, and to kind of show them that there are options. And I think a lot of people come to me because some people don't know what to do with the 45, 55-year-olds,
Mm.
you know, as coaches. But for me, it's because I suppose I've been in recruitment for so long, and I've been 10 years in that whole world. There's certain sectors that, you know, there is that age bias, of course there is, but it's to look beyond that. And I think, you know, it's to kind of believe that, you know, you've got all of this and more, and to kind of package themselves and market themselves and sell themselves in a successful way. So I tend to fall into that purely because of the successes I've had in it, and the referrals and recommendations that I've got because of it. So, you know, that would be, if I was to pick an avatar, that would be it.
That's really interesting. I think it makes total sense, you know, that it's the scientist side, it's the psychology side, it's everything, you know, the career coach and recruitment side, that they all fall together under that avatar brand or the avatar
Yeah,
phase as such.
phase it is. And even with myself, I've kind of completely revamped myself in the last year. So, you know, and it's, you're going through what they've gone through, you know, which is huge, I think, as a coach. You know, whether it's down, if you coach through mental health, or whether you coach through any of that, if you've experienced what your clients are going through, I think it adds a whole different layer to your coaching, because there's a massive understanding of where they are, you know, and you can have those real conversations because you've had your doubts and your concerns and your worries and your issues, and a lot of it resonates. And, you know, it's not necessarily you're coaching yourself, but you are in some ways, you know, because you've positively got yourself forward and out there, and you know, it isn't easy, you know. And I would say to them, in your, you know, 40s and 50s, it isn't easy, and it's all about your attitude. And I've seen some very old 30-year-olds, and I've seen some very young 50-year-olds. So to me, the age isn't, it's a number, you know, and it is down to attitude. It is down to, you know, how you see yourself and what it is. If you can't see your value, nobody else is going to see it. And if you don't think you have value in your 50s or late 40s, well, then you're not going to be able to sell that to anybody else. So that's the big thing for me is, you know, it shouldn't be about age, but unfortunately it is. But it is about how you present yourself and your attitude towards, you know, your potential. You know, that's key.
Are you meeting your potential?
I'm getting there. You know, for me, it's yeah, no, I'm in process. Absolutely. I mean, the business is only a year, so watch this space, in my view, because I've got loads of ideas and what I want to do, and you know, bring people into me going forward. But yeah, no, I've only tapped the surface, I think, on the coaching side of it. Scratch the surface, as they say. No, I just, yeah, and that is what will keep me going, because I will constantly be always chasing myself and making myself better.
Knowing your brand and stuff like that, I love the energy you've gone in with it. You know, you've, in terms of strong presence, strong branding, you know, focus and drive. You know, and there's people who've been in business for a long, long time, and they actually haven't hit the ground as hard as you have, which is, it's just lovely to see. You know, and for me,
Yeah.
that shows passion.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's something that I didn't focus on a lot last year, and I just thought, I'm going to invest in this and go for it for COVID, you know. And everybody has said it to me, and it's lovely because some people say, you know, when you're doing your social media, make sure that you're in a good vibration, you know, because when you are putting it together, and that's something I never really thought about. And it does come off. It does kind of connect or not connect with people. And when I look at some of the ads and the ones that really connect space that day, that's when such and such happened or whatever. And then there's other ones that haven't worked, and I've gone, why? And it's maybe could be my own self-doubt that I was having or whatever. And it's amazing how the ads do and are connecting, and long may it happen, because that's only in the last 2.5, 3 months, Pete, and like I've got huge positivity from it. But that's down to Alan as well. You know, I've got Alan involved, Alan Wallace there, if anyone's listening, he's great at all of that stuff. And, you know, he's shown me kind of the power of consistency and showing up every, you know, and it's coming at it from a different viewpoint as well. Because for me, I know what I want to tell and what I want to say, but not necessarily how to do it. So yeah, no, it's great. It's all positive there, and I do have energy. If anybody meets me, they get that. There is that optimism and that energy and that kind of, and it's lovely that it's coming through the social media. And I think it's not the stage. Some of the photographs you kind of go, oh, but you're caught in motion, smiling and laughing, and I think it's lovely when you put that into your branding, because it really is important that people see you. And that's not even being cliche, but even in your photographs, that, you know, they see the natural you in motion, which is, I think, also a real connected piece with your clients, very much so.
Definitely, it's great. It's a great way to be. Would you say you like yourself or love yourself?
I'd say I like myself. You know, love myself. Yeah, well, you know, none of us are perfect. There's things about us that we would like to, and I would never say I'm completely there yet with regards to my own development. But as a person, yeah, no, I do. I probably, if we say go back to 21, I mightn't have said it then. But yeah, no, I think, you know, yeah, absolutely. I think life has, I want less from it, I think. So that's why I'm happier in myself. I actually, through self-development as well, with your own self, and you're looking at yourself and reflection on yourself, you're constantly, I suppose, keeping an eye on you too, and that you're looking at things in the right way, and that you're, you know, you're looking at it from as many viewpoints as you can. And no, I don't think, you have me thinking there as to, is there anything I don't really like? No, I do like myself, and I do love myself, actually. I will actually say it strongly, I do. You know, 99% of myself.
That's okay. That's a majority. That's good. We'll take that.
We're going to keep it that one. There's always that bit that kind of, you know, comes back to bite you on the ass. But sure,
that's a scientist's answer. There's no such thing as 100%. You know, there's always tolerances.
Yeah. I'm lucky. I gave myself 99.
No, absolutely. Yeah. What's a guilty pleasure for you?
Oh, red wine. Ice cream.
Italian, I'm assuming.
Italian red wine, yes. A good Chianti or Valpolicella, absolutely. An ice cream. Have to say, Italian ice cream is just, you cannot say no. But what I love about the Italians is have a tub and miss a meal. So, you know, that's kind of something that makes me smile. You know, I just think, yeah, and yeah, a good red wine, absolutely.
What's your flavor of ice cream?
Oh, stracciatella. So that's it's vanilla with chocolate bits all the way through it. It's fabulous. It's like it's a bit like a Viennetta. You know, the chocolate Viennetta. It's like that, but it's really creamy ice. Oh, it's gorgeous. If you've never had it, Pete, put it on your list the next time you go to Italy. Stracciatella.
I'm starting to drool here already.
But you know, even with food and stuff, like what do you choose? You know, you go around Italy and every place has, you know, whether you have the cacio e pepe in Rome, whether you have, you know, I mean, it's like guilty pleasures. It's just to, food-wise would be a huge guilty pleasure. My other half's a really good cook. So when we're not in Italy, we have Italian nights and we just smile, you know, so that's a guilty pleasure for us.
I'm going to put you on the spot then. So like last meal, any location, any place, any course. So starters.
Oh, it has to be Rome. Has to be Rome. It's going to be
Main
Rome. There's a
Rome for the
hotel
starter.
in Rome.
Okay.
Yeah. Go for okay, my starter. Whoa, you put me on the spot there. An Italian starter. Would have to be, they do a monkfish.
Okay.
Which is beautiful, and it's done in a tomato sauce, which is fab. So that definitely is a nice starter. Main course, you have me there. Whether I go for a scaglio, which is a seafood linguine,
Right.
that would be something that, yeah, absolutely. But that would have to be a white wine, not a red. And then dessert would have to be ice cream or a classic tiramisu, but a good tiramisu, you know, not your have to be homemade tiramisu. But yeah, the linguine, yeah, would absolutely. It would. There's a hotel in Rome that overlooks the Colosseum, so that's where I'd be parked up with a glass of wine and sunset. Absolutely, that wouldn't be a bad one. Yeah, or on the lake either, even in our garden. Doesn't matter, anything from the garden. Sitting there with a glass of red overlooking the lake, that would also be a nice way to end it all. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick Italian food, Pete, to be honest. But the seafood side, I mean, I'm big fish, so yeah, absolutely, that would be big for me.
And what are we writing on your headstone?
What was it my brother said to me? It's very funny. We had this conversation over, and he said, so, you know, her life wasn't boring, you know, never was dull. So that would do it for me, you know, made the most of it. And it wasn't boring, you know, it really hasn't been boring. And so, yeah, I suppose I'd leave it at that, because I think that kind of does sum it up. Could never box her, you know, she actually, you know, went different ways and did different things. So, yeah, that would be a big thing.
Love it. So, what is your fire in the belly then, in one or a few words?
It has to be, you know, whether it is my clients or my family or my, you know, is being there for people, being a good listener for people and helping people. It's even changing perspectives, or I'm naturally somebody that people comes to, Pete, anyway, whether it's clients or not. So obviously people see something in me that I'm, you know, I can help them. And even help is probably too strong a word, because that means then that you're kind of not necessarily superior, but, you know, it's supporting people, it's working with people. My passion is making a difference with people. Like I look at it with the life I've had, if my niece and nephews can look at it and see that you can just take chances and try things. If you get something wrong, go again, you know, with my clients as well. So you're in a space that you've been for 20 years and you don't like it, you know, take a chance and try something else. You know, it's to have that optimism. But you said in a couple of words, you see, this is difficult. I'm not somebody that is yeah, my passion is that I make a difference in people's lives, if I was to do it in a sentence, and a positive difference.
What's your mantra?
I don't actually have one. A mantra. It comes into my head is get up, get out, and get it done. But no, it's like get up. Every day has a new opportunity, and just seek it out and go for it. Make every day as best you can. Actually, that would be probably, because it is making, if you get up, it's a new day, guys, you know, don't see it as a negative and see what the opportunity holds. So it's you know, take each day as it comes at you and make the most of it.
Olive, where can people reach you? Where can they follow you? Where can they contact you?
Website is olivemurphyconsulting.com. You know, so that's probably the best place to go to. You know, it's Olive Murphy everywhere. It's Olive Mur on Twitter. It's, you know, Olive Murphy Career Performance Solutions on Facebook. So, you know, if you just search Olive Murphy Consulting, you'll get me. You'll get me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, you know, and then the webpage. So if any of you's out there or have listened to this and you're in that space with your career that you don't quite know where you want to go, or you are in your 40s and kind of you want to know, is there life afterwards? Come and have a chat with me. You know, I do free consultancy anyway. You can just, you know, give me a shout. We can have a chat and you can see whether you want to work with me. But yeah, if there's any career advice any of you want, or if you're in that space, you know, please feel free to drop me a line and we can have a chat and see if there's anything I can do for you.
I love your authenticity and sincerity. Honestly, it's refreshing. And I was thinking there, you know, recoin the phrase instead of midlife crisis is midlife drive.
Absolutely. You know? There's life after midlife.
Oh,
that could be my new motto. That could be my new motto. But also on the serious side, if anybody is affected by redundancy, please, guys, I do a free clinic on a Friday. It's not just a one-off. I have people coming at me every week with accountability and just getting process and play. We are getting people jobs, you know, we are getting huge success stories out of that. So absolutely, that's there too. But yeah, I mean, is believe in yourself, no matter where you are. That's the big thing too, Pete, isn't it? It's, you know, it doesn't matter what age you are. It's to have that belief that, you know, to make the best of it and have the best life and love it, you know, like that's key too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So is that us? My God, how quick did that go?
Thank you very much, Olive. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you, and look forward to hearing the feedback from it and the recall on it. So listen, you take care, and sure, I'll see you again soon, and either a TED Circle or a Think Network or whatever, you know, the way our paths cross again. So look forward to that, and thanks a million for your time. Yeah.